I said good evening. I'm sorry. Good evening, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. I think we have a quorum, so if we can have a motion to begin, we can start.
I make a motion that we start.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, aye. Ayes have it. So I just do want to preface this conversation with saying that, as I said in January, this is going to be a light meeting out of respect for the time and the date. It is Valentine's Day. I want to be respectful of the commissioner's time. So this is going to be a light meeting. However, in March, commissioners, we are going to be digging into a lot of different things for an extended time. So just kind of putting that on your radar that while this is a more condensed meeting in March, it will be a little bit more labor intensive. Cool beans. Okay, that being said, let's go ahead and start. Welcome everybody, and we're going to jump right into the agenda. Public information campaign planning. We can all kind of talk about this right now and together, but essentially, and at a certain point, so teacher, I'll just text you in the chat. But at this point, we need to kind of come up, not even kind of, we need to come up with a campaign on how to get the information out around what our commission does and why the funding is important to the public at large. We touched on this in the last meeting a little bit, but I kind of wanted everyone's opinion in relation to being able to start that campaign and ideas around it. Yeah, so we can go ahead and thank you, Mrs. Warner-Wiggins, for taking notes as we start this. One of the first things that we did talk about was creating a calendar, and we can send that out in the next week or so in regards to having everyone fill out their availability to when we can go and speak to various homeowners and civic associations within Prince George's County in relation to the Fair Elections Commission. That was one of the things that we talked about. Also, I think between now and March, and we can put this up for a vote. I think between now and March, we should have another general information session virtually that would be going out to the county. So we would jump on like the Zoom here, but it would be informational and it would be streamed, I guess, via YouTube or however we do this now for the county to see as a whole. What are our thoughts on that?
So do we want to have that as a Zoom meeting with a panel and then having an audience so that if people have questions, so it could be interactive if it needs to be rather than just YouTube?
I'm fine with that, but I guess Ms. Warner-Wiggins, this would be, I guess, a technical question. Couldn't we do both? Couldn't we have it to where we could have people come into the Zoom and have a panel sort of thing with them asking questions while still streaming it to YouTube?
I believe so. Yeah. I believe Zoom has that capability. What I am not certain about is the particular license I have with the county, what the ability is. The county is very careful to limit certain types of access. So I'll have to talk to our IT department about whether or not streaming directly to Zoom is an option with the particular license we have. But
yeah, and I can find out.
That is something Zoom can do though, yes.
Yeah, and I can find out from other sources for whether there are restrictions on Zoom and so on. I know folks who do this, so I can ask as well.
A question I would have would be just on the timing and what materials do we want to have available by then? So if we're already kind of going public and people would be coming onto a Zoom, we would want to have, you know, the basic FAQs and overview and manual or just be intentional so we know what's available and what might still be in development that we could give people a date to watch for. So that I would think it's important to have that sort of
together first
by the time we have a public session.
So I was thinking the basic things we need are, you know, how a candidate joins what the restrictions are on taking money, what the match rate is. I mean, the very basic things without getting into sort of the list of questions that Ms. Warner-Wiggins raised that have, yet to be addressed and codified or dealt with as other counties have dealt with. So I don't think we need to get into all of the weeds, but just an overview of what the program is would be a good thing. And to your question, Jaina, about the civic associations and going to visit them, we could also send an email blast to the civic association list that the county maintains and tell them this Zoom is going on, so we get at least some interested participants from certain civic associations jumping in and getting their feet wet on this issue.
Yeah, I agree with that. But to Dan's point, I think it would be good if we could have, so if we could have a PowerPoint created, and in the PowerPoint, I think it would be 2 portions. I think the PowerPoint, okay, Ms. Nelson, Commissioner Nelson, you want me to finish or you want me to? Okay. I think we create a PowerPoint for any presentation, and the first part would be exactly what the commission is and what it does and its members, like the general overview of that. And then into the information that we already kind of have released to the public in relation to the candidates and things of that nature on the other side. I think that would be fine for us to present on if we present between that time period of February and our next meeting in March. If we don't do it in that time period, which is fine, and we do it after March, then March, I would expect anything after our March meeting, I would expect a little bit more, definite set of information to go out to the public. Commissioner Nelson?
Yes, I wanted to add, I wasn't sure, has a official press release been developed for our commission announcing us formally? Because I would imagine that would be also a first step to formally introduce the commission to like the local newspapers, online news media, just to talk about our purpose and our responsibilities.
I think when we were
Yeah.
sworn in, the county sent out an alert.
Yeah. So, and maybe we can just have Ms. Warner-Wiggins verify, but I do feel like I remember like there was a whole press release when we got sworn in about who we are and what we're doing. But from that other perspective, I think Commissioner Nelson, it would be great if we could draft our own press release in relation to like a summary of the meetings that we've had so far, where we're going moving forward, and then just an introduction in general to the commissioners. Does that sound like something that would kind of get to what you're talking about?
Yes, I would definitely be interested to know if we had a press release. I know I haven't seen it. I saw our picture in the newsletter, but that's definitely not a press release.
Only reason why I say I saw something was because remember when we got sworn in, well, never mind. I just remember that, yeah, okay. Ms. Warner-Wiggins, if we could just verify that, and then whether we have that or not, I think it would be good for us to, Commissioner Nelson, to your point, create a press release to go out in general, announcing who we are, the commission itself, and then just kind of summarizing the meetings that we've had and then what we're doing moving forward.
Yeah, and I would just add to that I think that's a good idea, and that we could then, include future meeting dates. And then if we're having, this first information session, we could have that listed, and then whatever general description of additional things that will be coming forward. And so with that in mind, I'm wondering if this should be more after our next meeting, just to be able to have enough time to get the pieces in place. So a week or two after that, and then we can finalize a little more meat on the bones for campaign elements that would follow.
I was thinking, if it's possible, could we do a dry run before we actually go out to the public? So we're all on one accord and understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. Because I have not received seen a press release either.
I'm fine with I'm fine with a dry run. I will say, as we're talking about this, what's coming to mind for me is we're going to have to do some work outside of these meetings. I know there's some stuff that we do outside of the meeting separately and things of that nature, never with a quorum. But I think it would be best if we think about right now in this moment. I think we touched on it before, but I don't think we really fully fleshed it out. Committees, and then like assigning due committees outside of these particular meetings. Because in regards to the dry run, I think it would also be good.
Is she frozen or is she
Yeah,
thinking?
Janet,
Yeah,
she's
sorry.
frozen.
Happening.
I was like, I think you were thinking.
Would that be correct, Ms. Warner Wiggins?
I think you
You were
froze,
frozen
Jana,
for
so
a
we lost a
period,
lot.
so we didn't hear
I
you.
was frozen.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh, I thought y'all
But you
was
were
frozen.
frozen,
Okay.
yes. So
Okay.
we're thinking.
I was saying, oh, thank y'all. Okay, so what I was saying was, I think it would be good. So for us all as the commissioners to come back, wouldn't we have to do a dry run? Wouldn't that have to be an open meeting if we have a quorum? I just want to be clear on that. Or
I don't believe it would have to be, if it's just strictly going over the presentation, not necessarily making policy decisions if it's just strictly administrative or practicing. I don't think that has to be done in an open forum.
okay, all right, then that's fine. Then that's perfect. We can come up with all the information and then go back to having a meeting outside of the scheduled one. So that's first off. I think also, again, to reference the committee that we talked about. I think at this point, what are some committees? I know we talked about the budget committee, which we kind of had Dan over, but then like these other committees that we would want to do to finish fleshing it out. And really, I think that it boils down to outreach. I mean, really outreach, but in two different branches. I guess outreach from a civic perspective, like community civic perspective, and then outreach from a political perspective. Those would be like the two branches that I could think from the committee standpoint.
And when you say outreach, do you mean going to the community and scheduling meetings or forums and things like that?
I was thinking more along the lines of, yes, like that. I think in partnership with Ms. Warner Wiggins, though, because it would kind of have to come from like the Fair Elections Commission email or something to that effect. And then to your point, going out, or being virtual.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of civic associations that meet virtually, and I don't mind going to the physical ones. And if somebody else, as we decide, if someone is more comfortable doing all the virtual ones, that's fine as well with me.
Yeah, I think at present, the virtual ones seem more practical. Before we sort of jump into seeing how many in-person meetings we can do. And then we also can see what energy there is out there. We don't have to carry the message all the time. If the message is the same as what we have put out, other people could take the information out as well, because I think in some sense, to get information out, we sort of need to multiply ourselves.
If you can get a recording, they could play it on a virtual meeting.
I think we should partner with the League of Voter Women's because they have a wonderful platform. So we won't have to reinvent the wheel. And what's your feeling on that? Dan,
I think we should partner with every organization that's interested in the program.
Definitely the league.
definitely the league.
Yeah, I'm definitely in support of that. So that being said, Commissioner Williams, so are you volunteering? Well, first of all, let's vote on, are we all in a, can I have a motion to create the subcommittee for outreach.
I make the motion to create a subcommittee on outreach.
I second.
Okay. We can, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. And so to that end, who would like to be on the subcommittee?
I don't mind being on the subcommittee, but I would like to have like slides or speaking
Oh, yeah.
points and all that before we actually go out there.
Yes, that's the intent. Yes, that would be my intent. So, Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Nelson, I saw you raise your hand.
It
Were
was
you
me
saying?
raising my hand.
Oh, okay, yes, okay. Commissioner Nelson, Commissioner Williams, and I'll join as well, just to support, and then we could bounce ideas off each other as well and things of that nature. That does mean that Commissioner Williams and Commissioner Nelson will be meeting outside of the
But
time
no,
that we meet every month. Yeah, but I will definitely make sure that it is within your schedules and start on time, end early, whatever may have you.
fine.
So on that topic, I might just add, my wife Kathy is on the board of the league. So I've already talked to her just in general that I know we want to connect with them. But some of you also might have other longer standing relationships with them, some of the leadership, but it's one thing. And then are we, like, I'm not sure which political entities or just even civic ones in addition to the league is very obvious, but I would think that Democratic Central Committee, and I'm not sure how they all meet and stuff, but the Central Committee is Democrat, Republican, and then there's like the Eleanor Roosevelt Club at Greenbelt,
Mhm.
some of these other entities that would, I think, be good to reach out to in this process.
We're gonna need to. Hi, Commissioner Jackson. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you were trying to get on and it was kind of hectic. We just voted to have a subcommittee for outreach, and we're talking about some of the things in relation to that. With those particular things, I feel like we need to come up. I know that Prince George's County has like their own list of civic associations and HOAs, and I think even that list is like outdated every time I look at it. But then we need to come up with our own kind of list, and including those organizations that are not on that list. So the Eleanor Roosevelt Club and Greenbelt wouldn't be on it. To your point, Dan, Commissioner Smith. But then also the League of Women Voters wouldn't be on it. So we need to create kind of like our own list, one with the correct information for the HOAs and civic associations, as well as the other organizations that we would want on there. Commissioner Nelson, I know that you are a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. So we would love to come out to see them or any of the D9 organizations along with that. Commissioner Jackson, you came off mute. Did you want to say something?
No,
Okay, cool.
I'm fine.
So definitely want to make sure that we get those organizations as well, and just kind of create that list. So that's one of the things that we need to make sure that we're doing. So we'll get on that. So teacher.
Yes, so I would like to suggest we all get on this committee, at least at the start, so we can ensure that there is as wide a net as we can cast with all our information and contacts and so on. So with that, I volunteer to be on this committee, but I'd like to ask if Dan and others would also like to just be on it so that we get off to a start where where everybody's on the same page and we know what's going on, because I think this is a major part of the work that we have to do to get the word out.
It's also going to be a major focus of the meeting next week, right? Next month.
Well, I mean, I guess the question was, are we going to do an outreach meeting before that, or are we not? And I think that's where we are. So if something's happening more quickly, Jana referred to the political outreach as well. So in the context of the funding and so on, the more people who are aware of what we've asked and why we've asked for it, the better. I think the greater the chances of that funding coming to fruition.
For the political outreach, I know would be really the county council and the county executive's office that we would reach out to. I had this is semi-random. Mrs. Warner Wiggins, can you check and see if they are actually including the Fair Elections Commission on those email blasts that go out to the community around commission meetings and emails and letters? Because I receive them and I've been looking and I don't really see us. And so I just want to make sure that that information is going out as well, because if it's not, then that's another area that we're not able to reach out to people in regards to that.
Yeah, no, I requested that, and I'm not sure exactly if it's an automated process, but we are on the website that lists all of the county's commissions. And so on occasion, I will see the commission meetings listed, but it's not consistent. And again, I'm not sure if it's an automated process that it's somehow pulling from that website, or if there's a body that's pushing that information out. So I'll find out.
Where I know I get some of those, and I'm wondering whether, I can't remember if I had to opt in and say like I want to opt in to the different ones, or
Oh,
whether
could be
it
that.
was like in general opt in. So maybe check and see,
Mhm.
can we just,
Mhm.
or do people have to opt in, or can they just be included if you've already opted in?
Yeah,
I
that
feel
could,
like
Mhm.
can we find that out? I want to say I feel like I didn't. I'm sure that might be an option. I feel like I didn't have that. I feel like I just get an email that says, "Hey, these are all the boards and commissions meeting this week or this month." I feel like I get that, and I'm always looking and I don't see us, and so I'm like, wait a minute. So that's a concern as well. So we have our outreach subcommittee. We will be meeting. I'll probably send you an email next week. We will be meeting within the next 2 weeks to have more conversation about just kind of the planning around that. And then within this time period, working on the FAQs and slideshows that we would want to send out to the public in regards to that. I do like the idea of what Commissioner Nelson said around a video in regards to just kind of like maybe us somehow doing it on Zoom, it being recorded, but it being a video presentation that we're able to send out to different organizations, and then, you know, have people there. Go ahead, teacher. So teacher, I'm gonna hand it over to you. I need to step away for 1 second.
I just wanted to, this is a quick question for Ms. Warner Wiggins. Did the letter go out to all the folks who ran for election in the prior cycle and have open accounts?
Yes, it did.
It did. Okay. Did you get any response? Did anybody? Nothing at all, right?
Nothing
That's
at
it.
all.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's what I wanted to find out, if they have any concern, because that's the deadline that's coming up fairly quickly, right, in May. If they also sort of as a warning to say, don't spend more than X if you want to run. Yeah, so maybe that's another good reason to have a public meeting, so that specific issue is aired out thoroughly to everybody, communicated and so on. Yeah, thanks.
Excuse me, did we get a copy of the letter, or I'm sorry, I don't know what letter we're talking about.
I was talking about the letter that went out to all prior folks who ran for office in the prior election, telling them about the constraint of how much they could spend and could not spend if they wanted to run publicly financed in the next cycle. And yeah, I don't know if I got a copy of that letter.
May we have a copy of that?
It was sent out by email, but I can send it out again.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So we are 5 minutes away from our self-imposed half an hour for this meeting. Are there issues we should discuss at this time?
Well, just following up on the outreach committee and process. Like for example, I'm traveling for a couple of weeks, starting next week, and I would be happy though if however it works out for the subcommittee, if you have questions, you communicate them to us or like minutes or notes from updates. I'd be happy to send in by email. And then also just when you come up with your recommendations or progress, and if you just send it back to us before the next meeting, we might be able to, the other commissioners might be able to add to that or give feedback so that we can really have make a lot of progress at the next meeting. But we'll let you guys take the lead, but we're happy to, I think, try to help fill in the blanks.
So it seemed like at present we have Keisha and Diane and Jana and I, right, on that commission. Is that right? Okay. Committee.
Okay. So yes, we're gonna, okay, so we'll meet as a subcommittee this upcoming week. Dan, I did hear that you were traveling or whatever may have you, and then I'll send you some of the information from the subcommittee and things of that nature. We'll meet, I'll send out an email next week for us to meet in the upcoming week in regards to the subcommittee and some of the other things that we have to do in relation to that. And then also next month, it will be, again, a pretty heavy, long meeting in regards to really digging into some of the policy work that we want to go into the actual language around the manual and things of that nature. And some of the, I don't want to use the word gaps, but just kind of the questions that came in relation to the actual written legislation versus how to actually do the manual in context to Prince George's County and things of that nature. Do I have that correct, Ms. Warner-Wiggins?
Yes, that's correct. Of course, the legislation can't capture every scenario. So there's just certain decisions the commission will have to make in terms of how to administer the program.
Okay. And then our next meeting is, go ahead, teacher.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, I had a phone conversation with Ms. Warner-Wiggins a couple of days ago. And this is what other counties have done when there's uncertainty in the language. They have basically codified it through the manual and made. I think a lot of the issues that Ms. Warner-Wiggins raised, other counties have had to face and have dealt with. So I think it shouldn't be a cause of great concern. The State Board of Elections has also dealt with these issues previously. So,
but do we have the authority to? I guess the question is what kind of level of detail can we iron out or requires other authority? So I think it makes sense if we try to resolve as much as we can and just do our opinion about it and what makes sense to us, put that in the manual. And then I presume, do we then vote on the manual? This is the official manual and send, and then presumably the legal counsel reviews that as well, so that. But I agree, it would be great just to iron these things out and not have to take them to the council and.
Right. And I just wanted to point out that there is precedence in other counties for having done just this. So apparently this is the way it's done. You don't expect legislation. Legislation is sort of in broad strokes, and then the rest of it gets done in other ways, set in other ways. Did I get that right?
I would agree. Yes. And of course we have, this is where it's very helpful to have Ms. Bell and Mr. Maddox participate in our meetings. And so as these topics are discussed, of course, we can seek legal advice on which things we do have the authority to, put in the manual, put in frequently asked questions, and which things would actually have to perhaps go to the county council.
Okay. Also, right before we go, Commissioner Nelson put in the chat the sign up for my PGC. in regards to email alerts and notifications, and then making sure that the commission was put on there in regards to alerts and stuff to that effect. Just making sure that we're on that listserv. So like when we have a meeting or something, it goes out from that.
Okay.
Okay, we are at 6:31. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the meeting at 6:31 p.m.
Can I have a second?
Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the meeting is adjourned. Happy Valentine's Day, and I will see you in March and before then for all the work. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Good
Thank you.
night.